Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. Also, hello to everybody watching from online. Good on you. You're not in the UK right now. Good on you. My name is Marius. I'm the creator of the CrispyTuner, which is my first and only audio plugin that I released. I built it from 2018 to 2020 and released it to good commercial success. And eventually, I ended up exclusively licensing it to brainworx. So they're now distributing it as the BX CrispyTuner on Plugin Alliance. So, first of all, what is the CrispyTuner? I'm going to give you just a quick overview. It's a pitch correction plugin, so it does latency-free monophonic pitch correction. Monophonic means only one voice, it cannot deal with chords. It allows you to do formant shifting without affecting the pitch. It has a graphical mode that you can see there in the lower right with a piano roll style note editing mode. And it has a scale finder plugin, which helps people who do not know the scale of the instrumental that they're working with to just quickly figure that out, because when using pitch correction, it is quite elementary to know the right scale. Otherwise, you are pitching to the wrong notes. I'm just quickly going to give a little demonstration of it. I think it needs to be turned up a bit so everybody can hear it, my computer output. This is the vocal that we're working with. Sounds pretty good, but let's just slap the CrispyTuner on it. I know that this is in E natural minor, so this is all I need to do to get some initial tuning. Oh, your love is so inviting. We can turn it up to the extreme. Oh, yeah. Sometimes it feels like I dreamt you up. Or something more subtle. Here, as you can see, the focus on this UI screen was just, you got to do two things only and you got pitch correction. For many use cases, that's all you need. However, there's also an advanced mode that allows you to do your love is so stuff like that, and then if you want, you can just record it into the graphical mode. And then you can just correct some notes that were like too close to another note on the scale that you don't want it to be tuned to. For example, this little segment here. Oh, your love is so inviting. Actually, I think it's back here. We can just make sure that this stays up here, for example. Sounds a little bit better. We can change the transition time and tightness individually for each note. So we could only make this one note really flat. Or we could like literally just move it somewhere else. That's basically the CrispyTuner. All right. With that in mind, hold on. Okay. With that in mind, how did I get to this end product? So in April 2018, I was a hobby musician, still am. And at the time I was working on Minecraft projects professionally. I was making server plugins and mods for Minecraft for a living, among some other freelance jobs that I was doing. And I just wondered one day, like, wonder if I can make a pitch correction plugin. What I had on my side was some pre-existing programming knowledge, mainly Java, TypeScript, and experience using these plugins. As I said, a freelance job, but, and that is not to be underestimated, Hotel Mama, as we say in Germany, which means I lived with my parents still. So I did pay rent, and I would have been able to afford to live by myself, but obviously it's a huge time saver if you don't need to cook yourself. So no, legitimately, like, it's more difficult for everybody who's living by themselves, for sure. However, what I did not have was any skills in C or C++ programming. I didn't know anything about audio development or DSP or real-time development. And I didn't have a formal software education, development education. But I mean, you really don't need one. I think, no, if anybody tells you that you need to have studied to be a good software developer, that's wrong, and you probably shouldn't join their company. So how did I get started from these resources? It's actually quite a logical progression, and part of my goal here in this talk is to show you that every single one of you is capable of just figuring out what is the next logical step that I need to follow in order to get closer to my end goal. And a lot of that is just based on researching. And so yeah, first of all, I researched how to do audio development. I found Juice rather quickly. I actually had a chat with Ollie Larkin at the time, because he was working on iPlug 2. This was in 2018, remember? But it wasn't ready yet. So I went for Juice, and I think as of today, that's still kind of the go-to framework that you would like to use when you're starting out new. Then I researched the DSP. Read a ton of papers that were just academic garbage, like people just like, ooh, I can speak in a fancy way so that a committee likes me. But there was like but there are some actual good papers, and interestingly, the paper that actually contained the useful information about TDeep Solar, which is the algorithm that I'm using, was very clearly written and very easy to understand. So I think if you actually have to say something, apparently you don't have an issue making it very clear. I found a patent, and I'm gonna get to that on the next page. So, quick DSP theory. I'm gonna tell you how pitch correction works, basically. What you can see here is a short vocal phrase, maybe something like a hum. You can see it kind of starts out as this sine wave, and then there's more and more harmonies that are being added as the speaker uses the throat to add harmonics to the voice and form vowels and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you can still think of the whole thing as just like a sine wave with a few harmonies. And what you can do is you can just detect the period of this the fundamental frequency, this like lowest sine wave that is in this waveform, and you mark it with these pitch marks, basically. And what you can then do is apply a window to like fade in on the left and fade out on the right. Here they're using a hand window, but I used Bartlett windows. And then you get these individual segments here. You can kind of think of them as like the wavetable in Serum, for example. And then you just take these and emit them at the corrected period. So here in this case, for example, we are pitching it down because the samples are emitted at a greater distance. And the advantage of doing this over just stretching and squeezing your signal is that you preserve the formant, which in my opinion is rather important to get good sounding pitch correction. A fun side effect, I just showed you the formant shifting where the pitch was preserved but it sounded like a chipmunk. You can do that by simply, before you emit these segments, you can just squeeze them or stretch them individually. So yeah, that's the time domain pitch synchronous overlap and add algorithm. The very important part here is that you really accurately figure out what the fundamental frequency is. Like these pitch marks got to be set right. It doesn't matter actually if they're offset, like they don't need to be at the top here. This would just be a different phase. So yeah, and to figure out the period, these pitch markers, especially like the best algorithm to do it with low latency or no latency is to use autocorrelation. So for those of you unfamiliar with autocorrelation, basically the autocorrelation of a function is if you just take each sample and multiply it with the waveform offset by a given amount of samples. So for example, to calculate the autocorrelation for a lag of 100, I would take the first sample and multiply it with the sample at 100, and then I would multiply the sample at 1 with the sample at 101, etc., etc. However, that's a lot of multiplications, and that's not really feasible, and much less was it feasible when Autotune, which is the original pitch correction hardware and now software, was invented. So there's this patent by Andy Hildebrand from 1998. He is the inventor of Autotune. And he basically found out that it's possible to get a really, really good estimation of this autocorrelation function using something like this. I don't fully understand how it works. I don't think it's explained super well. They just say that this is the case, and it works. I started in 2018 working on this, and the patent came out in 1998. Now, for those of you who don't know, you can only extend a patent for up to 20 years. So after that, it's public domain, and anyone can use it. So got really lucky there that I could take parts of this algorithm and incorporate them into my work. But yeah, when you have this autocorrelation, you see here's a peak at, of course, it's perfectly correlating to itself at a lag of 0. And the next significant peak is at around 250 samples. And as you can see here, this waveform that we have kind of starts repeating around 250 samples here. I think that's pretty accurate. So yeah, that's how we find out these pitch periods for use in this T-Deep Solar algorithm. That's pretty much it. So first thing I did after learning that was to implement the DSP just in a standalone C++ library. I personally did not want to use the juice stuff for that because I didn't feel like the wrappers were very good. And I mean, the main thing I needed was a circular buffer, and they don't have that for whatever reason. So I just made it in C++. And then I ran a juice plugin, created a juice plugin which just hosts this DSP in its process block with some default UI. That way I was able to just test the algorithm and see whether it works well. Now, there were a bunch of things that I learned as a newcomer. For example, you can't just put stuff in a vector and grow it, because that's dynamic allocation in the audio thread, and that might be a blocking system call. And also, no mutex is allowed, so I had to figure out how to transfer data between the UI and audio thread. What I wish I did differently at this stage back then was, so I created this plugin and I hosted it in Logic, and when I wanted to debug it, I set breakpoints and went in there, but Logic really does not like it when you pause its execution, because you can't just hit resume and then it keeps playing. Now it tells you audio synchronization error. So what I wish I did was just use some offline host where I can just put it in and get the result out as a file. I ended up writing something like that. You can find it here if you like on GitHub under crashpixel/plugalizer. And then I kind of wish that I would have taken some time to make some visualizations in Python for the stuff. But without all of that, I still was able to build the DSP pretty well. So once the DSP was working, I made a rough UI mockup with Sketch, which is a Mac-only app. These days I would use Figma. I don't think that it existed back then necessarily. And I implemented this UI in a prototype plugin. And the main goal at this stage was to get the UX right. Like, I was obviously aware that this does not look pretty, but it's good enough to figure out how it feels to use it. And at this time, I started already giving out builds to friends and testers. And my best friend, Tim, he was really, really invaluable as a tester because he is a tech noob. He doesn't know audio theory. He just wants a tuned vocal, right? So I gave it to him. Initially, this simple mode here also had these two tightness and transition time knobs. And he was like, why is there two knobs? Why can't I just have one? I was like, actually, fair enough. We can just condense it and make it internally affect these other parameters. So while you're figuring out the UX, it is really, really important to do, I call it loser testing. Get a really incompetent user and see how they interact with you. No, for real. Get a really incompetent person, see how they interact. Actually, I've been working as a product manager for a while after this, and like whenever I review a new feature that was added, I just really go into dumb mode. I'm not thinking, and if it feels wrong or unintuitive to use it, then UX needs to be simplified. Yeah, so once I had kind of nailed this and implemented this, I did not implement the graphical mode yet, but these two pages. I then wanted to get a design. And for that, I went on Fiverr. Simple as that. And it's very possible to find good freelancers for affordable prices on Fiverr to do jobs for you. It's just important that you kind of vet them properly before you give them the task. In the case of Kalman, who I ended up finding, what really stood out was consistent quality across submissions. He had some pretty versatile portfolio. If the portfolio is not versatile, then make sure that they have something that looks kinda like what you want to do, just so that you are sure that they can either adapt or build something that you want. And that's like when working with anybody, clear communication. Clear communication. If the communication is bad, the developer or designer or whatever can be as good as they want. It's just a pain in the ass to work with and not worth it, in my opinion. And if you believe you need an agency or a big studio, because these also exist on Fiverr, don't. Because, I mean, yeah, you're probably going to get a good result, but you're just going to pay 5 times as much as you would have to with a freelancer like Kalman. So I gave him these designs, and this is what he returned me. In the top, a little bit smaller, you can see the final implementation, so it's like a little bit different, but it mostly stayed the same. Here, just the advanced mode. I added a third knob in the end and kind of just rearranged stuff a little bit, but the UI stayed pretty much the same. It's the graphical mode and the scale finder. So as you can see here too, the scale finder grew a little bit because I gave you the option to choose some other likely scales from the algorithm. All right, now we are in July 2019. That is about 14 or 15 months after I started working on it. So a year in, I had a product where I knew, okay, this is getting relatively close to being something that is really good, really usable. So I started thinking about copy protection. And copy protection is very important. Everybody should have it, because otherwise anybody can just download your plugin for free, and that's not what you want. You gotta live, you gotta make money. However, every software that you write, no matter what copyright protection mechanism you use, will always be crackable. It will always be possible. I mean, you can make it more complicated, but it will always be possible to go into your binary and change the function that determines whether you can use the plugin or not to just return one instruction, basically. And I mean, that happened really quickly with the CrispyTuner. It has been hacked, but so have plugins that use iLog, for example, or any other solution for that matter. The only thing I'm asking you to do, like, you can use the PACE copyright protection, you can use something like Keezy, but just don't force people to use the iLog dongle. Luckily, that's not really a thing anymore, but I remember 5 years ago, if you wanted to get Antares Autotune, you had to get the dongle, and that's just really user-unfriendly. Now, to be fair to the dongle, it's really good to have it for offline activation, for studios that don't want to connect their computers to the internet, and for just taking around your licenses with you between computers. But for the end user, you mustn't force them to, so please always give them the option to do it just online. So yeah, I wrote my license server myself, mainly because I had written a pretty cool Go framework that I needed an excuse to use. And I just made an endpoint that generates a license key when somebody buys it, more on that later. And then at startup, the plugin checks whether there's a payload deposited in your app data that contains the confirmation from the server, like, yes, you can use the CrispyTuner. This payload is signed on the server, so the CrispyTuner itself knows the public key to decrypt it. I kind of like hide it a little bit in there, not just in the string. Like, there's some runtime messing with it to get the actual pub key, so it's not that easy to find. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's still possible. And this payload, the signed payload, is bound to your device ID. So if you find this file in your app data folder, you can't just put it onto another computer to get around having to activate it. This only works for this device. And I also have a trial system, which works the same way. The server checks whether your device ID already requested a trial and then gives you a respective payload. All right, after that, it was time to kind of start thinking about the marketing and building a website. You see there was like a jump of half a year. During that time, I also kept refining the plugin itself, fixing bugs, working on it. And then I met with my friend Mark Wintrich, some of you know and work with him, to create a website concept. I visited him in Köln, and we sat down and created like a characterization of a target customer. In the case of the CrispyTuner, the person we imagined, his name is Johnny. He's 25 years old. He likes to make hip-hop music. He obviously has the dream to make it really big one day, but he's also kind of content currently right now in his job, and he has some money on the side to be able to invest into plugins that improve his sound. So once we just knew Johnny and who he is, everything marketing related and communication related on the website and elsewhere was kind of just aimed at him, aimed at Johnny. So we used language and images that appealed to the target customer. Yeah, you can see down here like the kind of document that Mark made here to kind of outline the website concept. Then with that, I hired a freelancer to both do the design based on what we just saw here and also implement it. And we agreed to pay, for me to pay 2,000 euros for that. However, after a few weeks, I realized that he just isn't that good design-wise or implementation-wise. And I canceled the project. So I ended up paying 1,000 euros. Like, it was an amicable agreement. It's all good. But I still paid 1,000 euros for something that I could not use and that wasn't finished. So how do you deal with that? Because it will happen at some point to you that there's something that just doesn't go ideally or doesn't go as planned. So it's important to understand how the situation came to be. In my case, well, I guess I just didn't properly vet the results that he has. So I didn't do what I just told you to do when looking for freelancers. But the most important part is not to beat yourself up about it. Because if you're like, oh no, I made this mistake, oh, then that's not exactly the mindset that's gonna get you to keep pushing forward. And use it as an opportunity to learn. In my case, the learning experience was that the designer or the freelancer used Webflow. And I didn't know about Webflow before. For those of you who don't know, it's like the only actually usable website builder out there. And then I used it myself for the website. So maybe that information about Webflow being good and existing cost me 1,000 euros, but hey, it was an opportunity to learn. So yeah, I went back to Kalman, the freelancer who also made the design for the CrispyTuner and of these slides too. He finished it last night. And then I just implemented the website myself using Webflow. And I'll just show you the website. On this side or on this side? Over here. Good. So, this is the landing page. CrispyTuner, fully featured vocal tuning suite for only $59.99. It just instantly tells you what it is. You can understand it, and it doesn't overwhelm you with information. It shows you just some screenshots and offers you to start a free trial, which just takes you to a download page, or to buy it, or if you are not yet convinced, to learn more. Okay. Hold on. That's a bit annoying. I might get back to it later. It's not that important, to be honest. But yeah, there's also a features page. You can check the website out for yourself if you like. This is not the live one, that would be crispytuner.com, but I'm still hosting the original one because the live website contains a notice about the sale now. So it's not about advertising anymore. But yeah, there's a features page which gives some more details to the features, and there's support articles where I spent way too much time, really painful time, writing detailed documentation on it. I guess that was probably my least favorite part. And I have an interactive online demo, and I think I might actually be able to play it.
Yeah. Living so fast, I can catch up with the past. Got all these feelings of stress. I forgot how to be chill, I forgot how to relax. But at the same time, I feel like I'm back. Follow my passion and make me some cash. Stacking these racks, put in my
I have a bunch of songs here where I just commissioned people on Fiverr. In this case, that was actually a track I made myself just for this purpose. And I added this tuning knob, which allows you to listen to the song with a few different tuning strengths. Now, obviously, the CrispyTuner does not run in your browser here. The way that I did this was I just rendered out the track with like 6 or 7 different tuning strengths applied. And then whenever the knob here kind of exceeds the threshold to the next file, it's just a seamless transition in the background. But yeah, this is pretty cool just to be able to allow your user to fiddle with it a little bit and get a feeling for the sound without needing to download it first. But of course, that would not be enough. You still need a fully functional free trial to really convince the user. Actually, if you do not offer a free trial, then in my opinion, you do not believe in your product. Because if you want people to buy it without being able to try it, you think that they will not buy it if they try it. So you're trying to scam your user into buying it. So don't do it. Like, it's not ethical. If you're scared of losing revenue by giving a free trial, then you think that your product is bad. Easiest, simple as that. So you have no excuse. Okay. I want to move on, exactly. So that was the website. That took maybe 4 months in total to build. Okay, and I mean, okay, you already just saw the price, so spoilers there, but how do you determine the pricing? In my opinion, you should be cheaper than your direct competitors if you have an equal feature set. Even if you have a superior feature set, make it a good deal, especially if you need to get your name out there and penetrate the market. So yeah, be competitive. But also don't be too inexpensive. I couldn't have sold the CrispyTuner for maybe 10 or 20 euros, I think, because it would have just felt too low quality and shady. And there are 20 euro pitch correction plugins out there, and they're trash. So you don't want to kind of invoke the feeling of your plugin being cheap and not worth a lot. So don't go too low. And make it an easy purchase decision for your target audience. As I said, like if Johnny looks at Wavestune and Wavestune Real-Time, he can get them on sale, and they do the live and the graphical tuning, but it costs 80 bucks. If you want Antares Autotune, then you either get the subscription or you pay $460, like, bro. And for the CrispyTuner, I settled at $69. Partially because it's a funny number, but also because it was in the ballpark of what I thought would be good, or 59 euros. But I had an intro price for the first month of $49. So basically, if you compare it to the value proposition of Wavestune and Wavestune Real-Time combined, it's $10 to $15 cheaper if you catch it on sale. But it's a lot cheaper if you get it at this regular pricing. But these regular prices these days, everyone just wants to sell their subscription model anyway. So how do you actually sell it now that you know the price? I used FastSpring as a reseller. Other people use Paddle, but I think either of these two are a pretty safe bet. Now, what is a reseller and why do you need it? Let's just say you want to sell your plugin to a customer in Germany, a customer in California, and a customer in, I don't know, Serbia. You are legally responsible to declare VAT and taxes in each of these countries that you sell to, and you need to manage that yourself if you are selling. So what a reseller does is you sell the reseller, which in this case is FastSpring, the permission to sell your product, and they then sell it to the end user, and they declare the VAT, and they take care of all of this stuff. Another upside, of course, is that it has systems like you can create discount codes. It has a really good dashboard. You can give refunds, all of that stuff. And they safely handle payment data. You really don't want to have your own form where people enter their payment data and you store it. Like, just don't. Terrible idea. Now, this comes at a price. The commission is 5.9% plus 95 cents per transaction. In the case of the CrispyTuner, I think that's maybe around 3.50 to 4 euros per sale. But honestly, compared to like paying an armada of tax attorneys to declare your taxes in every country that you sell to, it's really cheap. It's a steal. And yeah, the way it works is once you hit that pay button and enter your email, FastSpring calls an endpoint on my license server to generate a license, and then just sends that to the buyer. Good. Nope. Yeah, and finally, before you can actually start selling, you need to take care of the legal stuff. Lawyers are expensive. It sucks, but you need to go and get one. Because yes, there are like pre-made legal texts out there, but you as a layman are not in the position to tell whether they perfectly fit the product that you're selling and the data that you're gathering and everything like that. So I went to a German law attorney because my company operated in Germany and I wanted validity where I operate. And then these legal documents were translated into English by some company that the law firm was working with. I negotiated a flat rate price of 3,000 euros. They had a rate of 300 an hour, so I just thought, And I asked them how long it's going to take. I said probably 10 hours. Then I was like, okay, they make me a deal for 10 hours because I just didn't feel comfortable having like a running tab for somebody who cost me 300 euros an hour. But yeah, you got to bite the bullet. If this is something that's like interesting to you, you should talk to Heather or Philip from Rafter Marsh. They're around here. They had a panel earlier. Yeah, they're a really good partner to talk to. So let's start selling with the legal stuff, the pricing, the selling, and the product itself, and the website already. What do you do to like bring it to market? So what I did was about a couple of days before I launched the CrispyTuner, I just sent an email, which you can see on the right, to about 200 different content creators on YouTube. And what I did was I sent them a free license key, and I just kind of gave them a little breakdown and asked them to make an unbiased review. What you can always offer them, and I strongly encourage you to do so, is to offer them a creator code, which is like a discount code personalized for that creator that gives anybody who uses it a discount of something like 10%. That's more than sufficient to incentivize people to use it. And it allows you to track how well each video that is being made about your plugin that has a creator code, how well it's doing, how many sales it's actually netting you. And you can even go further and offer a referral bonus so that for every use of this discount code, the person it's associated with gets like a little revenue share to incentivize people to advertise it. However, again, I think it's really important to get people to do an honest review. You don't want your product to be shilled, kind of, and just be like, yeah, you should get this when it's not really good. So ask for an honest review and take the criticism that you get. There have been feature requests that I got from in a review video, which is like, yeah, this is the downside, so I just added it. And when reaching out, just really reach out to anyone. No matter how big the audience, because surprisingly, some of these really small creators have a really, really tight connection to their community and are like really good at selling. to them. And I also made forum threads on Gear Space and KVR. Mainly, I mean, it's a great marketing opportunity. This is the post that I wrote, just a quick summary. CrispyTuner is a vocal tuning plugin that makes professional pitch correction accessible and affordable for anyone. Yay. Quickly what it does, some screenshots, and a link. And that was really good, especially the Gear Space thread, because I got a ton of feedback, a ton of interest. And actually, I only added the free 7-day trial based on this forum feedback. So I didn't have it. I was guilty myself of not having a free trial. They were like, yeah, you need a free trial, so I added it. So yeah, I had very positive interactions with people on Gear Space. So how'd we do with all of that? Here's the numbers. Paid about $6 grand in total for everything. 1,000 of which was this failed website creation, and then the majority was legal documents. I paid, I think, 750 around that in total for the design of the website and the software. And I paid my friend Mark 1,000 euros for the marketing consultation. And then some Juice license fees and C-Line and Webflow. And yeah, from June 12th, where I launched, to October, I sold 1,500 units and made $69,000 in revenue. And as soon as I saw that I reached 69,000, I immediately had to stop selling. No, I'm joking. You can see that over here, there's like not many sales anymore. And that's because at this point, in August already, I stopped thinking about the marketing completely. Because at that time, I was already in negotiations with brainworx and Plugin Alliance to sell the CrispyTuner to them. But you can see here, this was like a video that his name is Mr. Different, I think. He made it on one of the first days, and that got me a pretty nice spike of sales. This one was the most effective one, and that's why I'm telling you to reach out to anybody. It's a German creator. His audience size is not that big, and the video maybe only got like a few thousand views. However, because he only ever recommends things that he actually believes in, like he's so trustworthy to his user base, to his viewer base, that they just all went and bought it. So even though my plugin and all of the communication was kind of marketed towards this 25-year-old Johnny, it was like 45-year-old Horsts and Torstens from Germany who ended up buying that stuff. So no problem at all. And yeah, and there was Help Me Devon. I think that might probably be the most well-known out of the three, who made another video. But as you see, that didn't, even though his audience is like 10 times as large, it only got about half the results. So yeah, you can only figure it out by trying it. And I think I paid Jonas, the middle guy, 600 euros for the video. And as you can see, I made $3,000 in revenue the day that the video dropped. So that was instantly worth it. Yeah, and then after, I think, about a month, I got a call from Dirk Ulrich, who was the founder and owner of brainworx and Plugin Alliance. And he said, hey, saw the CrispyTuner. Apparently, like, they were somewhere on Facebook looking for, like, asking around which pitch correction plugins are good, and somebody said CrispyTuner. And then he looked at it and he called me and he asked, hey, can we also distribute CrispyTuner on Plugin Alliance, because we don't yet have a pitch correction plugin. And then I just said, like, you know what, you can just buy the whole thing off of me. And that's what happened. So in this picture, you can see Vinny. He's also present here. And he was the one that I was mostly negotiating with. He was managing director at the time of brainworx. And I have to say it was incredibly pleasant to negotiate. I felt, I mean, I was 21 years old at the time, and I felt respected, and it really felt like we met on an eye level. And funnily enough, the law firm that represented brainworx in this whole deal was Rafter Marsh with Philip Lengeling. I'm not sure if he's here. There he is, with Philip basically writing the contract for them, representing their interests. And like, even though I was on the other side, like I was kind of his opposition, it was really so good to work with him, and just an all-around pleasant experience working with both Vinny and Philip. So again, if you need some legal counsel for your stuff, go to Philip, go to Heather, talk to them. They're really good. Yeah, so over there you can see the BX CrispyTuner. Now the changes that they made is they made it possible to change the color of the highlight color. They added a low pass and a high pass filter, and they added a bug or two, which have been resolved since. No, I don't want to slander. You should use the VX CrispyTuner. I mean, you cannot get the regular CrispyTuner anymore anyway, but the bugs have been resolved since. Don't worry. So yeah, this is how the CrispyTuner lives on now, under exclusive license to brainworx, being distributed as the BX CrispyTuner. You can get it as part of the Plugin Alliance bundle subscription stuff. Or I think it was also on sale for a quite affordable price. So yeah, that was kind of the end of the journey for me. And I would just like to quickly talk about the mindset that really helped me just manage this whole project. So I'm going to start with the third point, actually. See the big picture, but always focus on the next logical step. Because, think about it. What did I have to learn in order to make this happen? I had to learn C++, DSP, Juice, OpenGL for the graphical mode, because Juice's UI framework is way too slow. Marketing, sales, all of that stuff. I had to learn this huge amount of skills. And if I had just looked at that in 2018, when I was just wondering, I wonder if I can make a pitch correction plugin, might have been a bit overwhelming and demotivating. So yes, it's good to kind of have a rough idea of where you want to go and to keep that in mind as a guiding light and as a motivator. But don't get caught up in things that are not relevant right now. Break the whole thing that you're working on down to the smallest problem, like you do when you're developing software, and just focus on that next step, and then think about the next step, and then think about the next step. You can't do multi-threading here. It's okay to take your time. I thought I could release at the end of 2019. Before that, at some point, I thought I could release at the end of 2018. So it rarely goes as planned. And it's okay to make mistakes. Just learn from them and don't beat yourself up too much. Communicate clearly with anybody, with your customers, with the people you work with, and with yourself. Like, be clear of what it actually is that you want and that you're trying to convey. And always think from your customer's perspective. Treat them how you would like to be treated. For example, I get really pissed when I go to the checkout on a website and then they add tax after that, like to the price that we agreed to. I was like, dude, I thought we had a deal. Why do I have to pay 20% more now? It's not cool. And also, I would like to mention that I promised free updates for life for the CrispyTuner. And now, after releasing, I think, 11 updates in total, and like within the first month and a half, I then sold it off, so it became a new product. And initially, brainworx did not want to give a free license to my existing customers. They just wanted to give a 40% reduction. So I said, you know what? If I was the customer, I would be really annoyed. So I proposed to them, and that's what we ended up doing. I took, personally, a $25,000 pay cut just to guarantee that all of the existing customers will get the BX CrispyTuner for free. And I did not have to do that, but it aligns with my values of how I want to act in this world, because I want to treat people how I would like to be treated. Finally, it's okay if you lose motivation. Happens. There have been periods of a month or sometimes even longer where I did not work on the CrispyTuner at all. But I always knew kind of like, it's going to come back. And then at some point I was like, I really want to start working on this undo-redo system now. And then boom, I was back in. So yeah, don't stress it. And most importantly, don't have expectations. We are not in control of our lives, no matter how much we're trying to tell us that. So just be okay with whatever comes and whatever happens, and be open and be grateful. Because most of our disappointment and pain comes from a disconnect between reality and what we would like to have. And most importantly, just have fun. If you're not having fun doing it, then what's the point? You're wasting your life. So always go after the fun. So yeah, that's it. That's my little guide on how to make a successful plugin from scratch. Thank you very much for listening.